Hello, welcome to Ice Cream, You Scream. I'm Gina,
I'm Kathryn.
and for the month of July, we're telling stories about bars while we have some boozy ice cream.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the powers of dark magic have overcome us. We have accidentally cursed ourselves, but you can help us break the curse if you leave us a 5-star review, or alternatively, share a link to this episode with a friend. That would really help us out, and then maybe we won't drown in hell for eternity. I don't know, something like that. Either way, grab a spoon, grab a glass. Let's dig in.
I think you're drinking the same thing? We're sticking with it? I think I saw the little green guy.
Yep.
Same.
Nice. How is it? Still good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks so gross on camera.
Mine looks like radioactive. It's okay.
It's just, once the orange and the green start melting into the tan color, it just looks a mess, but it's good. It's
orange
delicious.
and green, very beautiful together. I want to hear how it was up north.
Up north. We spent the weekend up north. It was hot as fuck. It was 95 degrees, 100% humidity.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, awful. But fun. It was fun. The weather was awful. The trip was great. The trip was great. We went with my family. I was sick the 2 days prior to the trip, but I was feeling better day of. So it started off great. And then day 2, we spent all day on a pontoon boat. Oh. And it was so much fun, but the sun got to my body and may or may not have gotten a little bit of sun poisoning because day 3, I was out for the count again.
Oh, no.
So I did a lot of sleeping on that trip. But it was good, in a good way. That's what it was for. We were just in a little house on the lake. So yeah, it was just chill vibes. I read a bunch, sat around a bunch, ate a bunch of s'mores, did some antiquing. I'll share some of the stuff that I got.
I saw the Instagram stories.
Yeah, I got a few cute things. I'll share some pictures on socials if anyone's interested. Yeah, it was fun. It was chill. Not physically. It was hot physically, but emotionally chill. Yeah, it was good. It was a good time.
I feel like that's such a classic summer thing too. Like you go on a lake outing for the weekend or whatever, and then you get sun poisoning and can't really go outside because you're so fucking tired.
It's so funny because that has never happened to me before.
Really?
Ever. The sun, I'm fine in the sun, and I use my SPF, and my sunburn wasn't that. It was just on my thighs. It wasn't anywhere else.
Ouch.
It was just so bad that my body was rejecting the notion of doing anything else. But yeah, I don't think I've ever had a sunburn so bad that it was my body was inconsolable. This one, I think it was a combination of being out in the sun all day and the fact that I had been sick. Because I was kind of surprised my sunburn wasn't that bad.
But so when you're fighting off or
so
just wrapping up, kicking something out. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. And if it was hot, at least you were on a nice lake.
No, it was good. It was a good time. It was just, I have to talk about my body betraying me that first day because I was so happy that I was healthy and could still go and stuff. And then the sun was like, no, bitch, I hate you, remember? So that's okay. It was fun.
First of all, I want to tell you about this candle that I got.
Okay.
It's in an egg.
Shut the fuck up.
Literally in an empty eggshell. Somebody has poured wax and put a wick in, and it is scented like the spring solstice. That was the name of the...
Oh my God, I was so scared you were going to say egg.
It's scented
like egg.
No, but I would buy that too. Either way.
I know you would.
Yes, excellent. I also... The other update I have for you is that the other day, I don't know why I was doing this, but I was going through really old files on just my Google Drive, and I found a screenshot of an email that you sent me when we used to work together. And it is...
What?
It is the most sublime email. So I will tell you, the subject line is, got a fire request coming at ya.
Okay, I remember this.
The email goes on to read, yo, what up, slug queen?
Man, I had so much fun working with you.
Same.
This was when we were still in the office, I think.
Yes. Yeah, we were
Was
probably
it? It was
sitting
so
right
long
next
ago.
to each other when you sent this to me, probably.
This was like 5 years ago.
The rest of the email in its entirety is read, report back, etc. Bless up, Kathryn.
Man, good times, good times.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
That would have been longer
surface
ago
little
than
memory.
that. That would have been 6 years ago, 5.5, 6 years ago.
Oh my God.
Isn't that wild?
That was wild. I found a bunch of pictures of us when we used to work together, just like taking pictures of each other at our desks. We had so much
I
fun.
loved doing that.
I can't believe we got paid for that.
Yeah, that was a wild, wild time. I know for a fact that I have screenshots and stuff like that in my own drive somewhere, because it was I remember while we were there was a period of time where I don't know what they were doing. They were updating something, but we had to back up our files onto some other file. Do you remember this, or is this a fever dream? I remember needing to transfer all of my stuff to my personal files and then transfer it back, which, as I'm talking through right now, I think they were just trying to steal our identities.
That doesn't sound compliant.
I remember this happening. I remember it was something that had to happen because they were like updating the system or something like that. And now that I'm talking through it, I'm like, I don't think this is real.
That
but
sounds
it did
so
happen.
weird.
It did happen.
I don't remember that at all.
It may have been after you left, actually. But I created a folder in my personal folder, like, for all of this stuff while we were transitioning it, and it's in there somewhere. I may have cleaned a bunch of it out at this point, but they exist somewhere. And we're very funny. We were very funny at work. We were definitely the personality. We were definitely the personality in that office. Let me tell you what, 100%. Absolutely.
But yeah, I wanted to share that memory with you. That beautiful memory. Fun. One of Rue's cat hairs is like stuck to my nose. So if you see me, I'm not picking my nose. I think it's like wrapped around my septum ring or something. It's driving me crazy.
There's like a perpetual hair on me at all times. Ugh.
Anyway, so happy to be here celebrating this beautiful bar month with my very best friend. May I beseech you to tell me a tale?
You may. You absolutely may. And let me tell you what, I'm very excited to talk about this because it is such a bonkers story.
Okay.
I had never heard of this before until recently. So I was just absolutely tickled pink when I heard about it because it's bananas. Quick trigger warning. I will be discussing murder and asshole businessmen. So if you're sensitive to either of those topics, like I am, just be warned. That's a big part of this story. In the heart of San Antonio, Texas, is a tourist-friendly and locally beloved district called the Pearl. There are restaurants, bars, coffee shops, knick-knack shops, ice cream shops, basically any type of shop you could possibly imagine. It's got beautiful industrial architecture, cobblestone walkways, brick buildings, a large grassy area where you can have a picnic, attend a concert, whatever your heart desires, just like immaculate hangout vibes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I would have liked to spend more time there. One of the most notable buildings in this district is Hotel Emma. Hotel Emma is, quote, a delectably unique 146-room hotel with 7 top-floor suites, a handsome bar and clubroom, an excellent restaurant, which is a purveyor of fine foods, and public spaces reminiscent of fine old hotels in far-flung locales. That is per their website. So,
wow.
You know it's true.
I guess they're, not biased.
I can attest. Basically, it's a fancy-ass hotel designed to look like years gone by, but it wasn't always a hotel. Hotel Emma was originally built in 1894 to serve as the brew house for Pearl Brewing Company. When it turned into a hotel, it was named for Emma Koehler, who was a prominent leader in the beer industry during Prohibition.
Fuck yeah. A woman was a leader in the beer industry during Prohibition? That's fucking cool.
Did you read my notes?
No.
Okay, literally the next line that I wrote down said, "A woman in the beer industry during Prohibition, you say?"
Same fucking page. That's
Yes,
dope.
yes. Let me tell you more. So, Emma Benson was born to German immigrants in St. Louis, Missouri on February 25th, 1858, which I think is my father-in-law's birthday. So, happy birthday. Not same year, though. He was born in 1957. Anyway, so she was the youngest of 8 children. She and her siblings spent their childhoods very active in German American cultural associations. They were particularly active in the Turnverein movement. Are you familiar with that? Do you know what that is?
No, what's that?
Neither did I, and it's very interesting and relevant. I'll tell you why. Relevant to us. I'll explain why. So, the Turnverein movement was, it's kind of confusing. I'm doing my best to describe it. It was a German political movement which originated by a group of political refugees called the 48ers. Their goal was to spread awareness and knowledge about German culture, physical fitness, and liberal politics. So sort of an interesting hodgepodge of like various passions one can have. But it was like a political lifestyle movement. They created spaces called turners where fellow Germans would gather and do like gymnastics and just be liberal. Fun fact, the reason it's relevant, the event venue, Turner Hall in Milwaukee.
I was wondering that. Yeah,
It was originally a Turner Hall. That's what they were called, Turner Halls, where these people would meet and do Turner things. That's why it kind of looks like a gymnasium, because it kind of was. Yeah. So that's how Emma was brought up. That's who she was. She was very progressive, very smart, very strong, both physically and mentally, that they were very active in this community. Meanwhile, as Emma's like practicing backflips in the name of democracy, a man named Otto Koehler emigrated from Germany to St. Louis in 1873, and he began working for his older brothers who ran a mercantile in St. Louis. He did this for a little while just to like make some cash after he came over from Germany, but he was bored as hell. He just wasn't into working at the mercantile. So eventually, he started working for Griezedek beverage company. I wrote it out phonetically and did my best. But it's a beverage company. It was a brewery, and it was there that Otto learned everything he needed to know about how to successfully run a brewing business. In his free time, Otto would attend German cultural events, and it was at one of these events that he and Emma first met. It can be presumed that they were taken with each other because of their politics and love of hard work and financial success, which were all things that they both valued a great deal. And in 1882, they were married. And then just a few years later, Otto got an offer that he couldn't refuse at the Lone Star Brewing Association out in San Antonio, Texas. They packed their bags, headed out west with the promise of adventure and riches they did find. Basically, if it was an industry that was known for generating a lot of profit, Otto had a toe dipped in. He invested in oil, copper mining, real estate, banking, like literally everything.
Damn.
Yeah, like all the big money industries he was investing in. He basically was in the business of generating business. That's what he did. He was a businessman. But his main passion, besides money, was brewing. So he continued to work his way up until eventually, in 1902, he became the president and manager of the San Antonio Brewing Association, whose signature product was Pearl beer. From this point forward, Otto would grow to be one of the wealthiest men in Texas, but Emma was right by his side the whole time. They both were very prominent members of the community, Emma in particular was very involved in several local organizations. She played a huge role in helping him do all of his business and like community affairs. So she wasn't just a socialite. She actually helped him with all of the work he was doing, particularly in his brewing position.
Fuck yeah, Emma.
Right. It was one of those things where she didn't get official credit because it was the turn of the century and she was a woman. Like he
women's
was
history.
the CEO and she was, yeah. So his biggest claim to fame at the San Antonio Brewing Association was creating a pretty in-depth strategy for growing the brewery, not just in sales, which obviously was a big focus for them for any business that would be important, but also physical size. They wanted to physically expand and make their land bigger and make the property bigger and have more projection, more buildings, more this, more that, more. They just wanted, it's Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. So they just wanted to grow, grow, grow. And like I said, Emma had a huge hand in that. She was with him while they were putting the plans together. She was helping map everything out. She did everything except get the title for what she was doing, basically. Like I said, they continued working, the business continued growing. They were active and beloved in their community. They had tons of friends. They had tons of success. They had tons of money. They just continued getting richer and richer and richer, and everything was perfect. Till one day, tragedy struck, as it does in all these stories. It was reported that Emma was in a huge car accident, which she did survive, but she ultimately was left confined to her bed from that point forward. And I believe the accident happened in 1910, 1911-ish, I want to say. And it left her kind of unable to do as much work as she had previously been able to do, both for the business but also for the community. Remember, she was in a whole bunch of organizations and, she was a philanthropist and all that kind of stuff. So she kind of had to slow down a little bit. But despite the fact that Emma was bedridden, the Koehlers still traveled to Germany every summer to see their families who were still over there. And it was on one of these trips in 1911 that they met and hired a nurse to take care of Emma full time. That nurse's name was also Emma Dumke. I will henceforth be referring to her as Emma 2 for the duration of this story. So Emma 2 ended up moving back with them to San Antonio to be Emma's full-time caregiver. She had her own place, so she wasn't exactly a live-in caretaker, but I believe the Koehlers paid for her apartment and set her up and everything like that. So she wasn't living with them, but she was living on their property, basically. And then they took care of everything for her in exchange for her caring for Emma. It wasn't long before Emma 2 and Mr. Koehler started having an affair.
Motherfucker.
It is, in my opinion, kind of unclear exactly how consensual this affair was. There's not a lot of information on the internet suggesting that it wasn't consensual. Most people seem to say that this was, I don't know. They don't really mention it at all, whether it was consensual or not. I'm not going to outright accuse Otto of anything, but the source for this information is just my own opinion. I do want it to be clear that this woman's entire lifeline was Otto. Like I said, he was paying for everything. He did everything for her. He was the reason she was able to be in America. If she didn't do what he wanted her to do, all he had to do was send her back to Germany and that would be it. So I do want to add that because no one out there is talking about that. And based on the way this story goes, I do suspect that this wasn't 100% consensual.
Oh, God. Okay.
We will never know for sure. That's just me using my little woman brain. Okay. So one of the biggest reasons I have this opinion and suspect it may not have been entirely 100% consensual is the fact that at one point, Emma 2 did reach out to a friend of hers to basically confide in her and say that she was uncomfortable with her current living arrangement.
Oh.
And she said that it was like weird for her to like care for Mrs. Koehler, who she cared about by day, and then like be Otto's little woman by night. It just was too much for her. She didn't like it. She was uncomfortable. It was weirding her out. So she basically told this friend, I'm at the end of my rope here. It's all just too much. I need some support. So she enlists this friend to come and help her tag team taking care of Emma, so she didn't need to be so overwhelmed. So this friend moves into the house with Emma too. The friend's name, you ask? Emma.
Fuck off. Really?
I won't. Yes.
I won't.
Emma.
Is this going to be Emma 3?
Her name is Emma 3, but
Okay.
her birth name, Emma Bergmeister, but we'll be calling her Emma 3. So we have the 3 Emmas: wife Emma, nurse Emma, and friend/backup nurse Emma. What ends up happening with Emma 3? She ends up having an affair with Otto.
Fucking Christ, dude.
Mhm.
How many Emmas does he need?
3, apparently. Is it? We're capped at the Emmas. There's no more Emmas.
Okay.
But again, like, this is also kind of another reason I don't think this is 100% consensual, because he started kind of having this whole Hugh Hefner thing going on, where these 2 women are living together, and he's got like mistress number 1 and mistress number 2, who are Emma 2 and Emma 3. And it was straight up said when he would come around to have like a date or alone time with one of the Emmas, the other Emma would like make herself scarce and go do shopping or go see a show or something, and like come back when their time was up. It was weird.
I'm getting a
so
big
it was like
fucking ick from this. That's not
big
right.
ick.
Yeah.
Big ick. Yes.
Especially with that power discrepancy. Like, if that's what you're into, fine.
100%.
As long as you are all equal in that relationship in terms of power dynamics. This, no.
Yeah. He had total control over the one. I think they all were German immigrants, but I don't think Emma 3 was like trapped there under, like,
not as reliant for immigration purposes, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Because she didn't come over as his employee the way Emma 2 did, basically. Meanwhile, Emma 1, our main girl, Emma, is just at home minding her business, allegedly doesn't know, and I only say allegedly because people talk, and he was a big prominent figure, they were big prominent figures, so it's like, the only reason I bring it up is women aren't stupid, so I'm sure she did know to an extent.
Yeah, especially back then. Like, there's a difference between not knowing something and not saying something, and this was back when not having a husband was... like, if you were a divorcee, it was seen as this big embarrassment. So I get it. Right.
Exactly. So this arrangement, if that's what you want to call it, goes on for a while. Otto was in a whole ass relationship with all 3 of these women until 1913, when they went on their summer trip to Germany, and Emma 2 traveled with them, like she always did before. And it was on this trip that Emma 2 met and fell in love with a different man named Martin Daschel. And he lived in St. Louis and just so happened to be visiting Germany at the same time they were. So when they get back to San Antonio, Emma 2 fucks off to Missouri to marry this Martin guy. Yeah, so she leaves. It's at this point that Otto declares his love for Emma 3, the replacement Emma. He's like, I can't put the moves on my sick wife. She's like sleeping in bed. My main bitch up and left, so I love you now. That's basically what happened.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yes. So he asks Emma 3, if I leave my wife, will you marry me?
Why would you leave a female leader in the beer industry during the fucking Prohibition? That's dumb.
Because she couldn't walk? I don't know. It's so stupid. This guy sucks.
Yeah, fuck Otto.
Yeah. So Emma, which one are we on? Emma 3 is like, there's no way this guy's leaving his wife, to your point, because why the fuck would you? She doesn't believe it for a second. So she declines this fake-ass proposal and is reportedly still okay with, like, being in this relationship. She just doesn't want to go through the whole process of, like, marriage and all that. Which is another thing. I'm like, okay, this probably wasn't consensual. She's probably sitting there trying to, like, think of a way out, you know? Again, power dynamics, all the things that we've already mentioned. It's shady as fuck at this point. So it appeared that everything was back to quote unquote normal for a while. Everyone was happy with this new arrangement. You know, wife doesn't know what's happening. Otto's doing whatever the hell he wants. Emma 3 is just along for the ride. That's basically what everyone is, like, casually living through. Until the following year, when the Koehlers took their usual trip to Germany, Emma 3 was not invited. What she got instead of an invitation to summer in Germany was 2 $10,000 banknotes.
From whom?
From Otto.
Wow.
In today's money, that's the equivalent of roughly $650,000 or 444,000 pounds.
So, do we think that Emma told Otto, "You're not fucking bringing your mistress," and he was like, "Okay, shit, well, at least I'll give her some money so she doesn't feel bitter about it"?
I think either that or he was, like, trying to get rid of Emma 3 and was, like, trying,
Like
it was
paying
hush
her
money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So either Emma
Fuck.
knew and, like, what you just said was, like, get rid of her, do whatever you need to do, blah, blah, blah. Or Otto didn't want Emma to know, slash, you know, his name be tainted or whatever, and was going to try to
My God.
and, like, get rid of her. Either way, shady as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, there's no
Gross.
good reason to do this, you know? After this, details honestly get a little muddy, in my opinion. There's a lot of different, I don't want to say different sources saying different things, but it was like, at this time, different people were saying different things. It kind of became a he said, she said, they said type of situation. But they're all very similar things. It was just the way in which things happened. The why behind the what gets a little, like, depends on your interpretation of the situation. Because at this point, Emma 3 said that Otto started to act suspicious, particularly when he got home from Germany. So, like, right off the bat, it's like, does Emma know? Does he not want other people to know? Is something going on? Emma 3 claims that she was nervous that Otto had grown depressed by Emma 2 leaving, because he was very sad and didn't want her to go. And after all this time, he grew, like, more and more depressed that his mistress didn't want to be with him anymore. So sad, I know. So Emma 3 was scared that he was going to hurt himself. Other people say that Emma 3 suspected that he had met someone else in Germany, and she didn't like that. Which, like, he probably fucking did.
Probably.
Like,
Judging by his track record. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, he of course met somebody, but whether or not that matters to this story is neither here nor there. Like, 100% believe he did, though. Allegedly, Emma 3 hired someone to follow Otto around and, like, hopefully catch him with this mistress number 3. It's just wild.
Gosh.
Like,
that's crazy.
Yes. And again, this is like the he said, she said. We don't know. I don't know if it's confirmed she had someone follow him, but it's definitely not confirmed why. Like,
how?
Was it because she was afraid he was going to hurt himself? Or was it because she didn't want him to be with someone else? Or did she not have someone follow him at all? And this is just rumor? We do not know.
Either way, this man is so much fucking work.
This guy sucks. I hate him. So all of this is to say, I think what matters most during this time period, after their most recent trip to Germany, is the fact that that is when paranoia from all sides kind of start to escalate. Who cares why? Who cares what? It's that people were starting to get a little crazy at this point. So Emma 3 calls Emma 2 in St. Louis and is like, shit's weird. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should be afraid for my safety or if I should be afraid for his safety. I don't know if I'm going to, lose my home. If he did meet someone else, is she going to get the boot? Like, she's just kind of like, I don't know what's going on. She needs some moral support. So much like Emma 2 called Emma 3 for support, Emma 3 is now calling Emma 2 back.
Mm-hmm.
So Emma 2 travels from St. Louis back to Texas, and she and Emma 3 like work out their emotions on the situation. They talk it over, and they decide that they need to have a little mistress meeting with Otto. So I know. My heart
Join
rate's
me in the
elevated
principal's
right
office, please.
now. Yes. So they're having a weird little family meeting.
My gosh.
And Otto goes over to what is now Emma 3's house. Used to be Emma 2, but they swapped.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to talk it out. Like, they decide they're having this meeting. They're going to figure out what the fuck is happening. But they never get to talking. Because on the afternoon of November 13th, 1914, when Otto arrived to talk things out, he was shot and killed by Emma 3. Yeah, man. She killed the guy. So, do you have questions? Because otherwise I'll explain a little further.
I am way more suspicious of like her thing about, oh, maybe he's going to hurt himself because.
So, yeah. Let me keep going.
Tell me more.
Yeah. And preface, we do not know for sure. When we never will. But like I said, Otto died by gunshot. He had 3 gunshot wounds and a broken neck, which, listen, because this part has fucked up so many people, but let me explain. A lot of people claim that there was some weird, like, torture shit going on because how could 2 little women break a whole ass man's neck? But there's an explanation. The broken neck is from one of the gunshot wounds, which hit him at the exact right angle. So the force basically snapped his neck. Sorry,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Warning.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of people don't. And I looked into it because I was like, I don't believe that these 2 women just broke this guy's neck. So they didn't. It is possible. It does happen. It's very rare, but it's possible. And based on what his injuries look like, that is what happened. They're confident in that. He also had another gunshot wound in his skull just below his left eye. And the third one went through his chest, which, like, I'm sorry, not to be crass, but like, she sounds like a very good shot because those are 3 like very deadly shots. So like, I don't condone murder, but that is like kind of impressive, but like in a Texas way. I'm sorry, but like it's very Texas. Like, that's Texas, baby. I like, yeah. You can trust a Texas woman to be a good shot. That's all I'm saying. So she was aiming to kill, basically. Those are all very precise shots. When authorities arrived on the scene, both Emmas are arrested, but Emma 2 is set free because it was clear that she was not the one who did anything. Emma 3 is let out on bail, immediately flees to Europe where she starts working as a nurse in the war. Which, like, wow. I don't mean to laugh, but like, what? We just casually let her leave the country? Like,
what a colorful life.
I don't know. Yeah, she just fucks off to fucking, like, Germany or something. Like, damn. Which I guess she could do. Like, she went back home, essentially. Yeah. But, which I don't even know. Like, I don't know when she came over. Because Emma 2's the one that they met in Germany. Yeah. And Emma 3, I don't know where when Emma 2 called her, I don't know where she came from. Maybe I'll look this up and if you're watching the YouTube video, it'll be, like, right here somewhere. So she's in Germany. The judge in the case is like, get your fucking ass back here. She's like, okay, fine. So
she said, okay.
She's just like, all right, fine.
Like, good luck catching me, pal.
I don't know how that works. She did not run any further than the war, which like sounds like as far as you'd want to go anyway. So she comes back. Trial starts 3 years later. So what would that be? 1918, I believe, is where we are right now. Emma 3 did admit to shooting Otto during this trial, but she pled not guilty by reason of self-defense. Because remember, she claimed that she had been feeling unsafe around him for a long time and like uncomfortable with the situation for a long time. And she claimed that she only had her gun handy because she suspected that he was going to snap and be weird and violent. So she was scared and had a gun.
Yeah.
Which, according to her, he did. As the story goes, on the day of their meeting, Otto bursts through the door, is all upset that they're all having this weird family meeting. He doesn't like it. Things have gotten out of his control. And he's just yelling, like, all over the place, just losing his mind, in a tizzy, waving his pistol all over the place and looking for Emma 3. So then she comes out of the back of the house from where she was. He raised his pistol at her. She shot him with her gun first in self-defense. Like, that's the story. Emma 2 corroborates this story. In addition to Emma 2 backing up everything Emma 3 said, everyone in the courthouse during this trial and a huge percentage of the public also like backed up everything Emma 3 said. It was reported in the Houston. I know. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And of course, naturally, it wasn't everybody, but she had a big following. She had a big support network. It was reported in the Houston. It was reported in the Houston Post that after her testimony, after Emma 3's testimony, people applauded in the courthouse, and women openly wept.
This is reminding me of Chicago, like the musical Chicago.
Yes, me too. It was around that time too, a little earlier, but still, yes. Yes, this very much has Chicago vibes. Yes. And yeah, people just really fully seemed to support her. It seemed like a big percentage of the courthouse was there for her, not Otto. And the discourse around it was self-defense. So I don't know if maybe like it was like known that he wasn't the upstanding like citizen that maybe people wanted him to be or what. But yeah, a lot of people were on her side. And then on January 22nd, 1918, after a 5-day trial, Emma was found not guilty by reason of self-defense.
Okay, Emma 3.
Yeah. 1 year later, she married one of the jurors on her case.
Fuck off. Ultimate power move.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I have no notes.
I have no
notes whatsoever. Yeah.
That is excellent.
And also, to your Chicago comparison, I wasn't going to add this, but it's part of why I was thinking of Chicago. Everything that you read about Emma 3 describes her as this like leggy blonde who wore like red lipstick. She was just a bombshell.
Fucking Roxy.
You know, so like, yes. Yeah. Very Roxy Hart. Yeah. So what the hell? Whatever happened to our girl Emma, the Emma 1 of Hotel Emma fame? She was totally fucking fine. Eventually she got better. She got better and she was able to get up, walk around, and live a perfectly normal and healthy life. Starting immediately after Otto's death in 1914, she took over all business ventures. She managed the entire portfolio of real estate investments that Otto had made, and she stepped into all of his board positions, including, but not limited to, acting as the director for the Central Trust Company and the Texas Transportation Company, which were two organizations that they, as a couple, had started to help with the transportation of beer across Texas. About a year after Otto died, Emma donated roughly 14 acres of land to the city of San Antonio so that they could establish the Otto Koehler Park. And there was only one stipulation with that land gift, and that was that beer must be sold on Sundays.
Oh, I love
which
that.
I love. Yeah, isn't that fun?
That's great.
So, yeah, of course, Emma's most notable venture is what we've already talked about, and that is after Otto's death, she assumed the helm of the San Antonio Brewing Association. And basically, she enacted every single business strategy that she and Otto put together. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They worked on them together before his death. And she grew the business like a weed. She's pretty much known for single-handedly guiding the company through Prohibition when it hit in 1920. And a big reason they survived is she essentially saw it coming and planned ahead. So many breweries closed down during that time, but in 1919, before it started, she repurposed all of their facilities to generate non-alcoholic goods with a focus on dairy products, which like everyone needs.
Wonder if she made
Especially
ice cream.
I bet she did.
Oh my
I know, that's what I
gosh.
thought too.
I love this.
Because like that was a main source of protein for a lot of people, especially leading into the Great Depression when meat was so expensive.
Well, that's a good
So,
point.
like, yeah, it was something that everybody needed and wanted. So, before Prohibition even hit, they transitioned to the dairy products. And then when Prohibition was lifted in 1933, they just picked up right where they left off with the beer. And secretly, they probably were still producing beer, just like under the table, but like off the record. We won't officially say that because that was illegal. But then once Prohibition was over, we're into Great Depression now. So like they kind of already set themselves up for success with that because of the food products that they were producing. And also she immediately expanded kind of when Prohibition was coming to an end, which just kind of helped them cycle even further throughout the Great Depression. So she kind of was just one step ahead of the economy her entire career.
What a fucking visionary.
And she really was. And I think one of the most important things to keep in mind that it really wasn't talked about directly. It was talked around a lot in a lot of the things I was reading, but all of these leadership roles that she had were roles that she needed to be elected to stay on.
Wow.
So like the guys wanted her around. Like they knew she knew what she was doing and therefore she was able to hold these positions long term. They could have easily replaced her after like the initial, okay, my husband's dead, now I'm the interim director. They could have gotten rid of her immediately, but they didn't because she was good at what she was doing. Eventually her nephew did take over the business. They never had any kids, so nephew took over, but she stayed an active member in the company until her death in 1943. So she was leader for many, many years. And even when she wasn't the leader anymore, she still was part of decision making and like her vote mattered and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, she really is known for like being a huge prominent figure in the brewing industry. Not even just as a woman, but in particular as a woman, because that was just completely unheard of at the time. And I do have one other thing to get off my chest about Emma and just the way she fucking thrived after her husband's death, respectfully. While I was looking for official documentation of everything, I kept feeling really stumped because I couldn't find anything about the car accident she was in. And I kept looking and looking and looking until I found an article that kind of had me feeling a little vindicated. And it's because other people have also been unable to find record of this alleged car accident. One in particular was an article about an author, Robert L. Gully, who wrote the book titled Money, Murder, Sex, and Beer.
Love
Excellent
that
title. He also noticed that he couldn't find any official record of the car accident. And upon doing further research, there is a possibility that there never was a car accident to begin with. And she may have actually been suffering from something called neurasthenia, more commonly known as chronic fatigue syndrome. the most, I guess, at-risk population at the time. The most heavily diagnosed people were, this is straight from Wikipedia. I thought this was not funny, but it was like, there were three most commonly susceptible demographics. One, the wives of farmers who were, quote, made sick by isolation and lack of engaging activity.
Oh,
I know. Two, businessmen with too many stressful ventures. And three, society women who were overwhelmed by endless engagement.
oh, I'm simply too overwhelmed by my
Exactly.
soirees.
So it's basically extreme burnout. It's the thing that celebrities are hospitalized for all the time nowadays. And, you know, if you take a look at this list, she was kind of two of those people. She was a society woman, but also a businessman. So there is speculation that perhaps she got this diagnosis and was basically told to be on bed rest because she was too stressed and overworking herself. And because the Koehlers valued like hard work and climbing the ladder and all that so heavily, it's speculated that they may have been just embarrassed by this diagnosis. So they fabricated this car accident so they didn't need to admit that she needed to rest, basically, for lack of a better phrase. This is just speculation. It is worth noting that cars were not really widely accessible until 1908, which is just 3 years before her accident. So it is perfectly possible that they just didn't have the infrastructure to have, official regulations and official reporting on every accident that ever happens. It's just a little suspicious that, with how prominent they are and how well known they were, that there would be no record of the situation. So that's why if they were just any old family, this wouldn't be suspicious, but because they were who they were, there should be record on it, basically. So that's why a lot of people are kind of questioning what she actually had. Also, the fact that she did get better after so many years, particularly once her deadbeat ass husband died. So
that is interesting. That's interesting, the timing of that.
Right. So, take from this what you will. Literally, since his death, everything has been speculation other than the success that she had business-wise. That is the only thing that is 100%. We know this for a fact because we saw her doing it, Everything else is kind of like up in the air, kind of a mystery. So, I mean, that was her life. That was everything that happened to them. There are, of course, rumors that Hotel Emma is haunted by our lovely, wonderful namesake, Emma Koehler. It is said that while construction was going on, in the process of converting it from brewery to hotel, several of the construction workers claimed to see a woman walking throughout the halls, and it was when the property was closed to the public because it was under construction at the time. And it happened so frequently that several workers refused to return to the project because they were they were freaked out by it. They didn't want to be part of it anymore. So even to this day, many hotel guests claim to see a woman walking down the hallway, kind of out of place. They don't recognize her. She doesn't seem like she belongs there. And then when they follow her, they notice that she's disappeared upon turning the corner. Legend has it that this is the spirit of Emma keeping tabs on everyone to make sure business is running smoothly.
I love that.
I love it. I love the concept of her still kind of managing the place.
Even in death, she's like, I need to keep an eye on this shit.
She's still that boss. Yeah, she's still the boss babe that she always was. Yeah. To wrap up the bar aspect of this story, there's plenty of beer talk in here, but if you are so inclined to stay at Hotel Emma, they do have a lovely bar. I love a freaking hotel bar. It's one of my favorite vibes ever. The most popular signature cocktail that they have on their menu is called the Three Emmas. Aha. And if you order it, I know, I knew you were going to love this.
I love that.
If you order it, your bartender will remind you that, quote, 1 is not enough, but be careful because 3 will kill you.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of cocktail it is?
Wild story.
I'm still on the booze.
So what can you drink? No, I looked it up. I meant to copy it because we'll include it. We'll share it right here. the base is pearl beer, and then there's like a little rose and some like citrusy floral something or other. Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker, but it sounds, everything they did with it.
That sounds good.
I would give it a shot. It sounds good. Sounds like I think you would like it.
I was just thinking, because I love the
It sounds
floral.
like something you would like.
Yeah, the florally stuff. That is a fucking
we'll share
wild
the
story.
actual thing. Yeah, isn't that
my gosh.
I didn't know anything about this until I was in San Antonio earlier this year, and they have parts of the story right on the wall. I mean, you can read the story of everything that happened. The lobby is very cool. It's very large. You can definitely tell it used to be a brewery, and it's very old, very cool. The bar is beautiful. When we were there was this country singer doing like Patsy Cline covers. It was just so vibey. It was very Texas.
Fuck yeah.
It was fun. It was my first time in Texas, so I was like living my best life. It was great. But yeah, it's a beautiful hotel. The building is stunning.
I remember you sending me pictures when you were there, and it is fucking gorgeous. This is 2 episodes in a row where I feel like we've been gossiping the whole time, and I love it.
I was so excited to tell you the story because of that. Even as I was writing, I was like, oh my God,
gosh.
Did she really? What happened next?
Yeah. Holy fuck. You know what? One thing I love about this story and maybe it's something that happened, it just didn't make it into record or whatever, the distinct lack of women bashing other women just seemed like they were all helping each other out.
I was wondering if you were going to catch on to that, because I didn't want to outright say it and project too deeply, because I know we're real passionate about that. But I think my favorite part is there's no real record of Emma 1, main Emma, bashing the other 2. It was, she kind of just like kept her head high and continued. Like she mourned her husband, they had this giant ass funeral. It was one of the highest attended funerals in Texas. It was like one of those. But then she just like moved on with her life. It didn't seem like there was any fuck these other bitches type energy.
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe it just wasn't reported on because that wasn't the story. But I appreciate that that's not the important part of this story.
Yes,
agreed.
And
whether
I think
it happened or not, I'm happy that it's communicated the way that it has been all these years.
Same. I like that this is the story that we have. And I think that if there had been women bashing other women or, putting each other down and shit, that might have come out in the trial, because I think Emma 1 could have just gone to Emma 3's trial and been like, nope, I knew she was a murderess from the very first moment. That's why she stole my husband. You know what I mean? And it doesn't sound like there was any of that.
Yeah. There was one quote that I found from Emma 3's new husband, the juror that she married. His sister made some statement about how, I don't remember how she phrased it. I'll try to find the quote and we can pop it in. But basically she was saying, like, I'm not saying it wasn't self-defense. I am a little bit scared of Emma. But it seems to have been said in the way of, like, this bitch did admit to killing this man. So, like, she seems to be saying it in that way, not in a, like, oh, I think she did it, blah, blah, blah. I think it was like, okay, she's confident enough to have 3 very precise shots. I don't ever want to cross her.
That's
same energy.
Definitely same. Oh, I hope the 3 Emmas hang out in the next life and have cocktail parties.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure they're all gone now, but same. Yeah. Maybe they're all hanging out at the hotel.
Yeah,
they're all at the bar.
Yeah, and every time they see someone order the 3 Emmas cocktail, they all high five and go woohoo.
Yeah, and then they steal the tip jar.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for telling me that story. That was really interesting.
You're welcome. I would love for you to close us out.
Did you want to do a scary on top?
I sure do.
Okay. By the way, we haven't told anyone this, but we're calling this new segment Scary on Top.
Yeah, we've been calling it that internally for a long time, even before we started it. And then we just never told anyone. We just giggle about it amongst ourselves and leave you all in the dark.
Yeah. And the Scary on Top is at the end of the episode. One of us has some shit to say, so we're going to say what we want.
Excellent.
So back in May, we did a whole month on mass hysteria. And I was going through like my old notes the other day, just like podcast notes as part of my Google Drive clean out, whatever. And I found
Mhm.
a ton of interesting examples of weird panics over the years that weren't meaty enough for a full episode. So
Oh my
I'm
God. Okay.
I'm going to tell you some of my favorites because I think that they're funny and interesting.
Love it.
First one is Monty Python related. Have you ever seen like Monty Python stuff? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay. So this is
Yeah.
about Life of Brian. If you haven't seen it, Monty Python did this movie called Life of Brian, which kind of pokes fun at the whole Christ narrative and Christianity thing. It's about this guy named Brian who was born, I think, on the same day as Jesus, and he becomes convinced that he's actually the Messiah, and it's shenanigans ensue. It's very funny. And when it came out, there was one specific town in Wales that refused to show the movie. It's this place called Aberystwyth. I looked up how to say that, so I think I got it right. And they didn't want to
You
show
did
it
great.
because it was very immoral. It wasn't officially banned or anything, but it was like very stamped down upon in the town. Cut to 2008. This movie came out in like 79, I think. Cut to 2008. They elected a mayor named Sue Jones Davies, who turns out was an actor in that movie. She played
Oh.
Brian's girlfriend, Judith Iscariot, instead of Judas.
Oh my God.
And when she became
Wait, that's so
elected,
funny.
somebody told her about this movie being like a point of contention in the town. And she was like, huh, that's silly. So she sponsored a charity screening of it.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's so
Like,
cool.
after she was elected?
After she was elected, yeah.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. So that's number one. The second one is about the show Hannibal, which I've only seen a few episodes of it. I do remember it being very
I
good.
never watched that.
I remember it being, I don't remember where I watched it, but I remember enjoying it. It was a very like, you get hooked, you know what I mean?
I remember it being on my list and then I just never got to it and I forgot about it until this moment.
Well, it has that actor in it. He looks like a shark. I always forget his name, but he's terrifying. He's the one who plays Hannibal.
Wait, let
What's
me
his
see. I
name?
think I know who you're talking about. Are we racing?
Yeah. Mads Mikkelsen. So in the show Hannibal, this is less of a mass panic and more just something silly that people were stressed out about. There's a scene in the show where a bunch of people have been like flayed. Like there's a killer on the loose who is kind of skinning people alive a little bit. And because these people were flayed, they're naked when they're on the screen because it's like, you know, you have to show the damage that was done to their body. And when NBC saw like the rough cut of this, they were cool with the flaying, but not with having their butts showing. So their solution to this was to cover the butts in more blood so people didn't have to see them.
Okay, I have so many things to say right now. You know what? Actually, this is a thing I think about all the time. Like, we could do a whole episode on this. we could have beefed this up and just made this an opinion episode because, well, first of all, I have to address when you mentioned flaying, I did laugh a little bit. It's not because I think flaying is funny. It's because somehow this is the third conversation this week that I've had about flaying, which is new for me.
Why?
So I'll send you this video because it was kind of very accidentally funny. When we were on vacation, parents and niece went to bed, so it was just Phil, my brother, and me sitting around the campfire, and somehow we started talking about like the most painful ways you could die. And I have this like very soothing, beautiful video of the campfire, and in the background you can hear Adam, my brother, like reading off the list of the most painful ways to die, and flaying's one of them. Anyway, so I was just like, wow, I don't remember what the other one was. I think I just was telling that story. The other thing I have to say is, what the fuck? Like, we're offended by a couple of butts, so let's add violence? Hard pass. Fuck that. I hate that opinion.
It's a weird opinion.
Like, human bodies are more offensive than violence is just, it's such a universal thing in the Western world, and yet no one recognizes how fucking stupid it is.
Yeah,
it drives me nuts.
It's one of those things that feels regressive, but it's not actually regressive because we've never moved
at
past
all.
it. Like there's nothing to regress.
Right, exactly.
We're still there.
It should be.
Yes.
It should be, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that made me
Anyway,
just
sorry.
roll my eyes. The mental gymnastics of that. So
Huge eye roll.
this third one is my favorite one. It's a drug panic. So in 1969, there was this big panic going on about drugs, specifically things like LSD, weed, all that kind of stuff. And there were also claims that kids were getting high by injecting themselves with a combination of peanut butter and mayonnaise.
Wait, I think I've heard of this.
I had never heard about this before.
I'm like, it's sorry, I like just escaped from my microphone. You just unlocked a memory. I didn't know I knew this, but hearing you say that, I'm experiencing something I've experienced before.
Were you the kid doing peanut butter?
Was I the peanut butter? No, that's wild. Yeah, because that was, what year was that?
Like 69.
Was that around like Reefer Madness?
So I looked this up. I thought the same thing. Reefer Madness was in the 30s, but very much same energy. Like they thought that like weed would drive you insane and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was such a big thing. It showed up in Senate committee reports. Narcotics Bureau officials like went on record talking about this. And we also know that at some point, Richard Nixon had this on his desk. It was in his presidential papers. So papers, like media starts latching onto this. It becomes this whole big fucking thing. And so they start to interview experts about this when they were investigating it. And just some of the quotes from them are so funny because you can just feel the exasperation. Some of them were kind of like, yeah, maybe you might do that because it could make you feel high because it cuts off circulation to your brain, I guess. But a lot of them were like, kids aren't doing this. They would fucking die. Like, there's no way this is something that's happening. So either way, people kind of stopped talking about it by the time 1970 hit. So it was like a blink and you miss it, very quick panic. But the modern interpretation of this weird little thing now is we kind of think that someone started this as a rumor, like as a prank, and people just were so panicked about drugs that they latched onto it.
Oh, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's probably what happened. Someone probably I bet someone didn't even mean to start this rumor. They probably said it as like a joke, like, oh, kids are doing blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, some mom heard it and was like, no, Jimmy!
Put down the GIF. Yeah. So yeah, that's my scary on top.
Wow. That was interesting. I loved Mass Panic Month.
Me
Thank
too.
you for bringing that back. That was so much fun.
That was a really
those episodes.
It was a really interesting month. I think about the Satanic Panic episodes at least once a day.
You know what's so funny? I used to think about the Satanic Panic every day until I did those episodes.
You got
and now
it
I'm
all
like,
out of your system.
I'm done. I never need to talk about it again.
You've closed that chapter in your life.
Yeah, that was April me. I'm June me now, or July. Where are we? I don't know.
No fucking clue.
No clue. Yeah. Well, thank you. That was super interesting.
Oh, thank you for the story. Can't wait until the next one. And until then, little spoons, keep it cool.
And keep it creepy.